my name is Richard Barid. Thank you for joining me today. I'm an elder law attorney with Smith Barid LLC. And today we're going to talk about a difficult topic, but an important one, and that's elder abuse. I want to get the definition right. There's an accepted definition that's been in place since 1995, which is a single or repeated act or lack of appropriate action occurring within any relationship where there is an expectation of trust. It causes harm or distress to an older person or violates their human and civil rights. So it's pretty terrible stuff, but it happens all the time. And my guess is at some point, if you're my age or older, you have run into someone where you're at least concerned about the situation and the way an older person is being treated. For some of us, as we get older, especially as we get elderly, our physical limitations increase and our need for care increases. And sometimes the people who love us most are able to provide it. Sometimes they're not in a good position in their own life to provide it, or sometimes they simply resent having to do it. Or in the really insidious situations, they see it as an opportunity to take advantage of mom or dad or another elderly person. So just to be clear, elder abuse is a pretty broad term, and it includes physical abuse, sexual abuse or abusive sexual contact, sexual harassment and stalking, emotional or psychological abuse, neglect of care and assistance, financial abuse or exploitation, institutional abuse, and fear or isolation. So we don't have time to cover all those topics today, but you can see what a broad and a large problem elder abuse is and can be. And I would encourage you, if you know someone, if watching this video brings someone to mind who you think may be in trouble, or if just throughout your daily interactions with people, you know of someone in your own family or somewhere else who might be suffering at the hands of another person, the sort of elder abuse that I've defined here, because it really is an insidious problem. And a lot of times the people are isolated. They don't have much in the way of interaction with other people. The person who's abusing them may be cutting off their eligibility or their ability to talk with the people in the outside world, their family, their friends, anyone who is part of their lives, because they're busy taking advantage of that elderly person. So if you know of someone like that, it would be great for you to give a call. In Georgia, it would be to the Area Agency on Aging and a sub-agency within that agency, which is called Adult Protective Services, or APS. Other states have different names for it, but a lot of states, many have what's called Adult Protective Services, or APS, and they will go by and perform a welfare check, and sometimes they discover things that are wrong, not going well, or even extremely dangerous situations, and they can help improve the situation or remove the elderly person from that situation so they're no longer in danger. So if you know anyone like that, you have suspicions even, please don't hesitate to call an Area Agency on Aging or an Adult Protective Services in your area. If nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong. But if something's wrong, you could be saving a life, literally saving a life. What I'd like to talk about today are the two forms of elder abuse that we see most commonly as elder law attorneys. And as we've talked about in other videos, our area of elder law is typically not nursing home abuse, that sort of thing, but helping families find ways to pay for long-term care. So we're helping people to help their parents, to help their aunt and uncle, their elderly grandparents, or to help themselves if they have a spouse who's elderly and not doing well. How do we find ways to pay for the kind of high-quality care we want that person to have? So one thing we often see is what we call financial abuse. And banks and financial institutions are what's called mandatory reporters. That is, when they see something going on that's suspicious, when they suspect, they get training about how to spot these things, when they suspect that a person is being abused financially. So, the son is walking mom or dad into the bank couple times a month and having them get cashier's checks for $30,000, for $50,000, any amount that's a large amount compared with the amount mom and dad have saved, or an amount that just seems inappropriate and not used to pay for anything that mom and dad particularly need. This can also go on not just with immediate family members. Of course, it can go on with spouses, ex-spouses, religious leaders, so members of a church or a synagogue or a mosque, and sometimes those spiritual leaders in those places are not completely on the track they ought to be on, and they take advantage of older people in order to subsidize the growing institution. That's wrong too, and we see that happen. It can be even harder to pin down and to recognize that kind of abuse, but it is a type of abuse that's out there. And if nothing else, if you have a concern, just like you would if you saw an elderly person with a black eye, if you happen to see that they're having trouble paying their bills and they've always before paid their bills on time, if they seem to be not eating and it's not a physical health related reason, that just the cupboard is bare, prescriptions aren't refilled, things that could happen, things that your common sense tells you they should have enough in the way of assets to pay and make their life better, take care of themselves and take care of their loved ones the way they always have or always wanted to, it may be worth looking into. and you can call Adult Protective Services or an area agency on aging or any like agency wherever you happen to live, and they will most often do a welfare check. Now, sometimes what's required is that you report that through the police if you think it's actually theft. And of course, going into mom and dad's checkbook and writing out a check for $50,000 that you then cash and use for your own purposes without mom and dad's consent or mom or dad's consent, that can be a form of elder abuse, and it's also a form of theft, which means it is illegal, and many states have laws in place that enhance the penalties and the level of offense. So instead of being a misdemeanor, it might be a high and aggravated misdemeanor or even a felony to steal money like that from even your own elderly parents or other elderly people. So you want to report that to whoever is appropriate. It could be the local police's financial crimes division. It could be the district attorney's office where you live. It could be Adult Protective Services. Maybe it's all of those and any resources. If you are certain or fairly certain that someone is being abused in this way before all their money is stolen, it's really important to take action and call any agency that you think might be able to assist and let them sort out who's going to take the lead. But we want to protect that older person and money and assets they've spent their whole life putting together, which should be used primarily and first for their own care to make their own life better. If there's money left over at the end of the day, at the end of the time when the person passes away and that goes on as a legacy, well, that's wonderful. But the number one issue, the number one thing we ought to be using that money for is to make mom or dad or whoever's money it is, make their life better, make their care better, do what we can to help them. Not even gifts, just taking money from mom or dad or another elderly person who's not in a position to stop you from doing it. So if you see that kind of thing going on, you should report it. You can talk to an attorney. If you know an elder law attorney you've been working with, you can call and get advice for your area. What's the best way to bring that kind of abuse to light? Another kind of abuse we see, there was a long list, but we see institutional abuse. And what that is typically we're talking about a nursing home, an assisted living, or a memory care, even in-home care. These are all institutions that provide care for the elderly, but there are times when those people are doing the wrong thing. With in-home care providers, most of them, probably 99% of them, are really trying to help and do a difficult job caring for a person who needs care and can't care for themselves. But there are situations where things are stolen, or the person coerces the elderly person by threats of intimidation or leaving them alone or not assisting them when they need assistance, and using that sort of emotional blackmail to get the person to write them a check or get money out of the bank. So it's very important when there's an elderly person who you're close to, especially if you're related, especially if you are closely related, like a spouse or a sibling or a son or daughter of that elderly person, everyone should be, at least a group of people should be eligible and able to have access to the information, not the cash, but the information about that person's assets so that there can be some checks and balances. If one of the siblings is taking on the care of the elderly person and running most of the errands, that's great. It's a beautiful thing to do to help care for someone you love, but someone else ought to be helping to look over those books and make sure we're not spending that money in ways that benefit the caregiver as opposed to benefiting the person who is being cared for. So it's important to have family members involved and aware and participating in the process, protecting the person. If we see institutional abuse, which sometimes we do in the form of bed sores or broken bones, a clear lack of care. Accidents do happen, but there are some times when an assisted living place, a skilled nursing facility, a memory care place, even in-home care, are intentionally harming people, and that's a horrible thing. And sometimes it's just neglect. Maybe they're understaffed. Maybe they have people who aren't properly trained or who just don't care. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen more often than it should. And as I said earlier in this video, we don't pursue litigation in terms of nursing home abuse, but because of the kind of work we do, we're acquainted with litigation attorneys who do a very good job with that sort of litigation. And if you feel comfortable talking to us, we'd be happy to talk to you about it and make the connection with an attorney who could help press that case forward if someone you know and love, some elderly person you're aware of, is being harmed by an institution that's supposed to be caring for them. I know this is a difficult topic. I hope that the information has been helpful to you. If you have questions or concerns, please contact us through our website or give us a call. Until then, thanks very much for spending this time with me. And if you have questions, let us know. Thanks. I'm Richard Barid with Smith Barid LLC.